Hey everybody, and welcome back to a video in this series where I kind of give you my thoughts on some of the most underrated players in each division. In the first video in the series we did the Pacific, now we're going to do the Central before we hop over to the East. So in the Central, if I think about the collection of teams in each division, I think the Central could be defined as the best division with the most underrated players, if that makes sense. I just think a lot of the teams are really defined by underrated players, like a Winnipeg. So this is, of the four videos I'm going to make in this series, I think this one is the one that was the toughest because there are so many underrated players. Now, like I said in the first one, if you haven't seen it, I'll say it again. This is a subjective process. I'm not telling you the top 5. I'm just giving you 5 of the 30 that I can think of. And I intentionally didn't include 30, so you guys could include some in the comment section of your own, and we can have a little discussion. So really curious to see your thoughts on some of my picks, and obviously some of your picks down below in the comment section. So let's get into this. Here are 5 underrated players in the Central Division. Number 1, Mark Scheifele. So let's start off with the team I'm wearing, Mark Scheifele. Actually, he's even on this jersey, so shout out to Mark Scheifele. He is a student of the game. He is a player that I think if you think about how he approaches a game, he is studying his opponent's tendencies, their skill set. I think he's the type of player that probably knows exactly what he's going to do in an upcoming shift, or maybe a couple upcoming shifts, like in advance. Like he just knows what he's going to do. Some players, they just go out and they just play, and they're amazing. I think Mark Scheifele can do that if he wanted to, because he does have the skill, but he is such a student of the game that he is so mentally prepared for every shift, and he's obsessed. He's obsessed with hockey. And you could argue that, you know, he's one of the superstars on Winnipeg, and I wouldn't say that he's not. I wouldn't say that that is a wrong opinion. I think that is a right opinion, but still, I think he's an underrated player. I think he doesn't get recognized enough. He makes, I think, just over $6 million, 6.125 or something. So for his production, his leadership, and his just dedication to the game, 100% in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the league, not just the Central Division. Number 2, Ryan Ellis. So with players in Nashville like a PK Subban, who used to be there, Roman Josi, Forsberg, I could go down the list and name the superstars on Nashville or who were recently on Nashville. Ryan Ellis probably wouldn't be in the top 5, but Ryan Ellis is a player that produces on most aspects of the arena every night. He is extremely underrated. If these were ranked, if I took the 30 names that I came up with for this division and ranked them, Ryan Ellis would probably be in the top 5. So he definitely had to be mentioned in this video for me. He can contribute offensively. He can contribute defensively. He's a small player, but he plays an extremely big and physical role. He's not afraid of anything, and I think that's kind of what sets him apart from most of the other players, or most of the other defensemen specifically of his size. He does play that big role. So absolutely mad props to Ryan Ellis, and I love his game style. I love his personality. Definitely underrated player. Number 3, Kyle Connor. So of the 5 names on this list, Kyle Connor is the one that makes the most amount of money. He makes, I think, just over $7 million. So that's some pretty big money. So maybe he shouldn't be considered as an underdog. But I think if you look at Winnipeg specifically, they are the definition of an underdog team. And then you could start to look at some individual players on the team. Obviously, Patrick Laine, Blake Wheeler, Kyle Connor. But if you take a step back and just look at the Central Division, Kyle Connor is not one of the first names that you think of as a superstar or as a producer in the Central. I don't know, I don't want to give him a position, but he's probably around 15 or something. Now, if you're really in tune with hockey and you follow it intensely, you already know that Kyle Connor should probably be in the top 5, 100% in the top 10. He is such a talented goal scorer, an offensive player, extremely fast, young, and just has the passion to succeed. So Kyle Connor is a name that doesn't get said a lot, but should get said a lot more. And it's a little weird that I have 2 Winnipeg players in this video on this list, but I really do think that Winnipeg is, really the definition, one of the teams in the league that really define underrated teams. So mad props to the Winnipeg Jets, and specifically Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. Number 4, John Klingberg. So historically, defensemen just get paid more than forwards. It's just how it goes. You need to pay a little bit more to get good defensemen. With that said, John Klingberg only makes just above $4 million. So his consistency, he was a Norris candidate the other year, if I'm not mistaken. If my memory serves me correctly, if he wasn't, he damn well should have been. So he's a superstar caliber defenseman, but he's not going to, he's not a PK Subban. He's not an Erik Karlsson, someone that's going to go crazy and light it up in an all-star game or score this big flashy goal. Although he's done that, actually. He's just not known for it. And I think that's why it makes him underrated, because he possesses those skills, but doesn't show them off all the time. He's more concerned about playing a well-structured game versus more of a risky game, I think. You could argue that maybe he does have some consistency issues, but I think there's no question he's definitely one of the most underrated defensemen in the entire league, not just in the Central. Number 5, Matt Calvert. So Matt Calvert, he spent most of his career with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I was a bit shocked to see him move on, I think, because he is the definition of depth player. He makes just under $3 million, and for a very consistent depth player like Matt Calvert, he's kind of being underpaid, in my opinion. I see him more of like a 3.5, maybe $3.75 million player. He not only fills that depth role, but he can contribute offensively. He can contribute definitely defensively. And he's a player that has so much grit. He doesn't care how big the opponent is. He will fight anyone. He will check anyone. And he'll stick up for teammates. And I think those are really valuable assets to have in a depth player. And every team in the NHL is filled with some depth players, but Matt Calvert, I think by definition, is 100% one of the best depth players and underrated players, specifically based on salary, in the entire NHL. So he had to be on my list. I would love it if I could hear from you guys down below in the comment section. Let me know who you think is maybe the most underrated player in the Central Division. If you'd like to pick one of my 5, you can. But if you'd like to pick one of your own, that would be awesome as well. Love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you could hit the subscribe button down below and hit the like button, that would mean the world to me. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Adios.